Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the fourth edition of Marvex Power Talk, brought to you by Marvex 2021. I am Lillian, and I am your MC for this session. I know it's been a busy week, and at this hour, I want to congratulate you for being here. And we believe that there is no better time than now to focus on indoor air quality, as it has now become the focus for many businesses as a result of the pandemic. This is the time for ACMV and R industry players to capitalize on the momentum to promote the latest equipment and solutions for healthier and safer living. Before we begin, can I know how many of you are attending the Marvex Power Talk for the first time? Just type in Y for yes and N for no at the comment section so I know who you are. For those of you who are virgin attendees, this is our fourth edition of the Marvex Power Talk, and we are glad that you can make it for today's session. The question here is how many of you have attended the Marvex Power Talk before, and is this your first time? If you are attending this for the first time, type Y in the comment and type N for those who are not attending this for the first time. Okay, thank you so much for your answers. I see some of you. Just a quick hi to everybody. Hi, Jason. Hi, Boon Hong. No, I don't think we have a video problem. You seeing us okay? Thank you so much, Arif, Nicholas, Paywen. Wow. So a lot of you are watching us for the first time. Interesting. Okay, so this is a big welcome to all of you. To all of you who are watching us or watching this Marvex Power Talk for the first time. Welcome. Okay, I see some ends too. Thank you, Peter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's great. Thank you so much for being here with us. You have no idea how stoked I am to be here with you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Marvex Power Talk is a series of on-point discussions where leaders and experts converse and deliberate about the opportunities and challenges faced by the ever-growing, reshaping and uplifting of the air conditioning, mechanical ventilation and refrigeration industry. This Power Talk is brought to you by Marvex 2021, which is the inaugural ACMV and R business event for ASEAN, scheduled to take place this year from 8 to 11 September at Kuala Lumpur Convention Centre. Marvex is jointly organized by MACRA and CIS and is held concurrently at Engineer, where we strive towards becoming the premier event for the primary source of ACMV and R stakeholders, while providing a unique platform for the growth and development of the industry in this region. With that, we have prepared a short video to show you how you can leverage on this dedicated business event for your business. Let's take a look.
Marvex will create a new milestone for MACA and the ACMV and R industry. We are working towards become the annual premium business and trade event. There will be an important date on the trade calendar for the industry within the ASEAN region.
Marvex is a platform that is driven by the industry for the industry. We look forward for this platform that provides our stakeholders with business networking opportunities.
Beside the all-days exhibition, there will be an industry conference, forums, and many more exciting highlights at Marvex.
Yes, we are as excited as you are with Marvex 2021. So be sure to stay on until the end to know how you can be a part of this excitement. All right, back to today's session. Ladies and gentlemen, when you stay to the end of this power talk, you will learn why IAQ is important and how does it contribute to the healthier and safer living. You will also discover what is the new focus in indoor air quality for commercial buildings and places that are at high risks, such as airports, classrooms, and indoor public spaces. And you will also understand the available technologies and solutions and how these different technologies and solutions can complement each other to achieve better IAQ, as it is not a one size fits all solution. If you have any questions at all during the session, feel free to direct them to our panelists. Type in the question in the comment section, and we will answer them at the end of the sessions. Our topic for today's Power Talk is the new focus in indoor air quality, and we are honored to have three special guests today with us as the panelists. We have Engineer Ng Yong Kong, Director of NYKK Engineering Group and Best Air Sdn Bhd, Mr. Daniel Lu, Chief Operating Officer and Chief Technology and Innovation Officer of MedClean International Sdn Bhd, and Mr. Damien King, Senior Sales Manager of Guard Inc. Sdn Bhd. Today's session is moderated by Mr. Vincent Chiam, Committee Member of MACRA and Managing Director of VTT Industries Sdn Bhd. Let me share a quick background and introduce our moderator for today. Mr. Vincent Chiam is the Managing Director of VTT Industries Sdn Bhd, and VTT Industries is a manufacturer of local air diffusion for grills, diffusers, and dampers. Their products are tested and certified by Sirim Malaysia and has obtained local Bomba Authority approval as well. Vincent has more than 20 years of experience in air diffusion and have worked in 2 local air diffusion manufacturers and 1 multinational ventilation products company. The VTT brand that he has created has been accepted by local M&E engineer. He is also leading his team members to promote their Malaysian products in the overseas market. This year, he has also been elected as the committee member of MACRA, and he will continue to be involved in the HVAC industry and services. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring Mr. Vincent on screen with me. Hi, Vincent.
Dylan. Hi,
How are
Dylan.
you?
Fine, very good. Very
All
good
right, I'll
afternoon.
pass the session over to you then.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, first of all, hi, Lin. Thank you for the introductions. A very good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you to Marvex Power Talk series. I'm Vincent Chiam. I'm your moderator today. Today's topic is the new focus in indoor air quality. We will be discussing on the following challenge. Firstly, the concept of elevated airspeed, which has been long ignored, but is now very relevant due to pandemic. For improved and better indoor air, while the public and everyone are looking for the solutions, it's obvious that many do not have the right and proper knowledge to make the decision. As in many instances, it's not just one solution that is needed, but a set of solutions to be effective, especially when we dealing with the aerosol and droplets. Without the proper facts on this topic, will lead to hesitancy in investing in better indoor air quality, and would then result in the inability to measure the ROI when investing in IAQ. The need for more education and knowledge sharing on this topic is important to make the right decisions. As mentioned by Lilian just now, we have a panel of 3 specialists who are experts in the field of IAQ to share and further discuss on this topic with us here today. And they are Engineer Ng Yong Kong, Director of NYKK Engineering Group and Best Air Sdn Bhd, Mr. Daniel Lu, Chief Operating Officer and Chief Technology and Innovation Officer of MedClean International Sdn Bhd, Mr. Damien King, Senior Sales Manager of Guard Inc. Sdn Bhd. Before I introduce the first panelist, Ladies and gentlemen, do feel free to drop your questions in the comments section stating who is the question for. And we will do our best to answer them at the forum discussion later. Now let me introduce the first panelist, Engineer Ng Yong Gong, a professional engineer registered with the Board of Engineers Malaysia. He is currently the council member for Malaysia Green Building Council and the Institution of Engineers Malaysia, and was X-ray Director and Regional Chair for Region 13. He was also the past president for Malaysia Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Association (MACRA), year 2001 to 2003, and also a qualified trainer under the HRDF since 2014. He has a Bachelor in Engineering, Honours in Mechanical Engineering from University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur, and an MBA from University of Hull, UK, and has more than 36 years of experience in the HVAC industry, having worked as a system and application engineer in two major chiller manufacturers, Air Diffusion and a control company. He is also a member of X-ray Indoor Air Quality Steering Committee 2010 and is the representative for Maastricht on Ceiling Committee of Workplace Atmosphere and Indoor Air. He speaks on IEQ HVAC for the Malaysia Green Building Index Facilitator course and is the frequent lecturer on HVAC system design course since 1990. Without further ado, let me invite Engineer Ng on screen with me. Hi, Engineer Ng. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you see me?
Yeah, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Can you see my slide?
Yes, yes.
So I can proceed?
Yeah, go ahead, no problem. Engineer Ng.
Okay, my presentation today is on indoor air quality and the COVID-19. All right. Now, first, we will talk about, before we talk about indoor air quality, we will mention about indoor environmental quality. Indoor environmental quality refers to the quality of the building environment in relation to the health and safer living of the occupants. There are four major areas that contribute of concern to indoor environmental quality. There you can see in this slide: indoor air quality and ventilation, thermal comfort, lighting, and visual perception, acoustic and noise comfort. So these are the four parameters. But since last year, March, indoor air quality play a very, very important part. So our focus for today talk will be on indoor air quality. But before I go there, what happens if it's a bad indoor air quality? A bad indoor air quality problem can be very costly in terms of the lost work time, lost use of the building, expensive building due to mechanical or air conditioning repairs, probably you gonna sue by the occupants, and also bad publicity. Right. Let us look at the definition of indoor air quality. We always talk about indoor air quality, indoor air quality. This is the definition by the World Health Organization. They mention the physical and chemical nature of indoor air as delivered to the breathing zone of building occupants, which produces a complete state of physical, mental, and social well-being of the occupants, and not only the absence of disease or infirmity. All right, so the breathing zone. What do you mean by breathing zone? Breathing zone is normally about a definition by ASHRAE is 0.1 to about 2 meter height, because generally these are the height of a human being. All right, and in commercial buildings, indoor air quality arises from insufficient quantity of ventilation air. Now let's look, what are there any guidelines or anything for indoor air quality? We only have this industry usable, industry code of practice for indoor air by DOSH. They have one in 2004. The latest is in 2010. Now this year I was invited to be in for the coming one. They are doing the DOSH is looking at the latest one. I'm part of committee for that. Here the 2010, which I shown here, this a green book you can download free of charge. They shows the 11 parameters. All right, the 11 parameters that affect the indoor air quality. You can look at the various here. They even talk about biological contaminants of total bacterial count, total fungus count. And important aspect another is a relative humidity. Now, let's examine the three most recent coronavirus that have emerged since 2002 and are life-threatening. The first one we heard is the SARS. SARS occurs in 2003, started in Metropole Hotel in Hong Kong. Then we have the MERS, and the latest in November 2019, we have the COVID-19, caused by the virus named SARS-CoV-2. And it is confirmed that this COVID-19 is airborne, okay, and can remain 8 hours in air. So that's why you need to wear a mask everywhere. This is a latest from ASHRAE, last Saturday, probably I got it borrowed from them, from Waseda University, from World Health Organization, Dr. Waseda, Dr. Tanabe from Waseda University, and say that 3 possible modes of transmission through airborne, droplets, and contact, means contaminated surfaces that you touch. Allow me to give a few slides on the transmission of virus in indoor air, presented by this guy in 2009 after knowing the story or knowing about this swine H1N1 and the SARS case. Okay, the question asks, how can people eject flu viruses in the air? How far can those viruses travel, and how can they circulate within buildings and inside HVAC units? What systems are available to sterilize, capture, or disinfect or kill these airborne viruses? These are the 3 questions we need to ask ourselves. Now they say at airborne transmission, when you cough, they could launch about 3,000 viruses. When you sneeze, achoo, you can also have about 3,000 over viruses. And of course, the worst is diarrhea. All right. How far can airborne viruses travel? Okay, here it goes. Coughing, it can go 1 to 5 feet, and the droplet nuclei can travel to 106 feet and plus. All right. This is a picture of it. When you do coughing, it can be 1 to 3 feet or 3 to 6 feet. Also depends on the relative humidity in the atmosphere. If it's very humid, of course, then the droplets may drop down nearer. Okay, it's 3 to 5 feet. That's why they talk about social distancing. We talk about be aware of keep a distance of at least 1 meter to 2 meters away from anyone. All right. And if it is airborne, look at it. Once it's airborne, it can travel. So it's dangerous if the droplet is airborne, which is the same as our COVID-19. Here shows the effectiveness of mechanical air filters that track the percentage of these swine flu viruses. They have this filter rating, they call it MERV, all right? 1 to 5 to 17. Starting 17 almost is HEPA. HEPA stands for high efficiency particulate air filters, and the MERV refer to minimum efficiency reporting value. Now, most buildings have filters in the aircon. Many of these are 1 or 2 merge. The higher the merge value, the smaller the germ that can capture. So you need a minimum of a merge 13, MER13 rating. How do air filters work? They are not like screen door. Forget about concept that as long as the bug is bigger, the hole in the mesh. Air filters are more like the thick forest. The germs sail through the forest, eventually plunk themselves out the tree. A higher merge value will give you a more densely packed trees, and why? So that you can probably capture more germs. Just an idea for you to get a picture. Now, a very good reference can be from the ASHRAE journal and ASHRAE handbook. This is published in May 2020. Subsequently, ASHRAE response to the pandemic. ASHRAE had this position document on the infectious aerosol as shown in this publication. However, if you go to ASHRAE website, they have sent this ASHRAE epidemic task force. They have guidance for small temporary dining structure, guidance for reopening of buildings, residential reopening of schools, and even you talk about in-room air cleaners or standalone air cleaners. These are the ventilation standard for residential. Why residential is important? Because we spend 90% of our time indoors, right? You think about it carefully. 90% of the time indoors. So what can you do? Open windows if possible if the weather is permissible. All right. When I say weather is permissible, look at it. If it's a haze like that, I think you wouldn't have much choice. You got to close the window and on the fan. There's also another standard ASHRAE 62.1 for indoor air for the commercial buildings or non-residential buildings. We also have our local building code. All right. What is the purpose of ventilation? It is for the public life, safety, and welfare of the building occupants. And most important, this ventilation is to bring in dilution. You bring in outdoor fresh air. What systems are available to sterilize and capture? There are quite a number. You can use MERV rated filter, UVGI, magnetized air media filtration, cold plasma bipolar ionization. For PCO, EAC, gas phase filtration, low density engineered ozone, and of course the latest they have these people. There's some brand. They have a VRF system where they use ionizer that can be installed at residential or homes or restaurants for VRF system. And lately, you also have standalone plug-in or portable or in-room air cleaners. So what are the recommendations? Wear a mask, right? Keep a distance away, at least 1 to 2 meters. Wash your hand frequently with sanitizer. Coughing, sneezing occupants, stay at home and wear a mask. If you're sick, stay home. If at home, open all doors and windows, especially in morning for natural ventilation. Increase fresh air ventilation for dilution, that's for commercial buildings. Maintain relative humidity of 50 to 60%. Get the highest MERV rated filter that your filter rack and air handling air issue can tolerate. Put as much UV light within your coil plenum to achieve a 99.9% pass Q rate. Consider the various systems available for additional virus sterilization. And the 3 C's, finally, avoid crowded places, avoid close contact setting, avoid confined and enclosed spaces. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Engineer Ng. So thank you for sharing on IEQ and the importance of indoor air quality and ventilation. Thank you so much, Engineer Ng. So ladies and gentlemen, our second panelist is Mr. Daniel Lu, COO and CTIO of McLean International. McLean International, a health technology company that has been innovating hygiene for more than 15 years. It develops sustainable sterilization technology that are chemical-free to create healthier and safer living environments, enhance food safety, and produce ozone water as a chemical-free disinfectant. At McLean, Daniel has developed several global technology patents and is responsible for the development of international markets like Asia, Europe, Australia, USA, and Canada. Prior to McLean, Daniel spent 21 years in senior management with multinationals in Asia, Europe, and United States. He has an applied science mechanical engineering degree from the University of Windsor, Canada. With that, let's invite Daniel to join me on screen. Mr. Daniel.
Hi, Vincent.
Hi, Daniel.
Good afternoon.
to you.
Good afternoon.
Very good. Yeah. Right now, I pass the floor to you, Mr. Daniel. You can sharing your knowledge and the thought to all the audience. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind introduction. Let me show my slides. Can you all see my slides now? Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for participating in this afternoon talk. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the organizing team of MARCA and CIS for this MAVEX Power Talk on the new focus in indoor air quality. For your information, this is an ongoing talking point, not just in Malaysia, but also globally. Our international customers are constantly engaging us to provide solutions to deal with the ongoing pandemic. This pandemic has changed the world quite drastically, and IAQ has become an important and necessary consideration for everyone to maintain good health and safer living space. My talk for today is on innovating hygiene as part of a total indoor air quality solution. Here is a quick look at the agenda as I start. Introduction to McLean. Who we are. McLean, as mentioned earlier by Vincent, we are a health technology company that's innovating hygiene with new cutting-edge, chemical-free, and also sustainable sterilization technologies and products, creating new ways to improve quality of life and prevent diseases. We are founded in 2005. This year is our 16 years in the business. Currently, as mentioned, since 2005, we have been specializing in eradicating the following contaminants: bacteria, mold and viruses, allergens and pollutants, bad smell, cross-contamination and cross-infection. And we do it by sterilizing your air, surfaces, and water without using chemicals. Currently, we are represented in Asia Pacific region, as you can see here. And we have also expanded to the North America as well as to Europe. So today's discussion is on the IAQ. The current pandemic. What is the major challenges for IAQ? Well, the biggest challenge right now for all the customers that we know of and even people that we talk to is to find an effective solution to tackle pathogens spreading through droplets and aerosol. And WHO has defined the respiratory infection that can be transmitted, and these are the droplets particle size that are defined by WHO as well as the aerosol particles sizes. Earlier on, Engineer Ng has shared this slide. And what is important is to understand that while there's a lot of discussion going on, whether it's an airborne or whether it's a droplets, we cannot ignore that they are all part and parcel of the problem. The coronavirus, it is airborne, but we cannot ignore it has also droplets. It can also contaminate surfaces. So we need to consider all these three aspects, not just in the airborne space alone. Studies have shown here the sustainability of coronavirus on different surfaces. Here you can see that the viruses in aerosol form can last average 3 hours. And on different surfaces, the coronavirus actually can live even longer. Here you could see plastic has 72 hours, stainless steel 48 hours, copper 4 hours, and cardboard 24 hours. In another study, regards to other coronaviruses, you will find that the viruses can even last up to 9 days. So we need to be aware that while airborne is something we are looking at, we need to also understand the viruses can also be present on surfaces. Now, the ASHRAE has come out with a document which Engineer Ng also have shared. ASHRAE position document on infectious aerosol. While ASHRAE has come out with many guidelines, they have also made it very clearly, they have made a clear stand that HVAC system cannot control all airflows and completely prevent dissemination of an infectious aerosol or disease transmission by droplets and aerosol. Therefore, it is important to note we cannot solely rely on air movement, but we need to approach the solution from a total ecosystem, tackling air and surface contamination for any indoor environment to be effective and protect and has a better protection. These are some of the current practices to improve IAQ. Some has been mentioned by Engineer Ng. For example, in the HVAC system, the recommendation is, of course, to improve air filtration system, to add on additional cleaner in the HVAC. For example, if your filters is below MERX 16, we should consider upgrading the filters. But also you can include things like UVC, ESP, or bipolar ionization, part of the HVAC system to improve the air quality. And of course, a lot of discussion is about increasing air movement. Now, in the non-HVAC system, you will hear a lot of recommendation in terms of increase the disinfection of frequently touched surfaces using different types of portable air purifiers, some with HEPA filters, some with ESP, or some with UVC. So these are the current practices that are in place. However, there are challenges with the current practices. Not that they are not necessary, but they also have their own challenges. For example, they do not address much on surface contamination. They do not operate 24 hours to provide a continuous air movement. They do not completely tackle the indoor environment. Okay? It is necessary, but there is still gap to be filled or to be addressed. So I would like to talk a bit about McLean technology. McLean basically, we focus, as I mentioned earlier, in sterilization technologies. And we focus on providing the highest level of hygiene and safety continuously 24/7 without the use of chemical. McLean Technologies creates active oxygen to sterilize indoor environment. It creates active oxygen found in nature to deal with indoor pollutants such as bacteria, viruses, mold, and unpleasant odor problems. McLean patented technology called Serafusion technology is a patented technique that we have created to generate active oxygen by splitting oxygen atoms to create O- and O3. Ozone is proven to be effective in killing bacteria and deactivating viruses by destroying the RNA and DNA at the molecular level, whereas O- cluster airborne particles together, causing them to fall on the surfaces. Serafusion technology is able to control the production of O3 and O1 depending on the application. What is important is the technology is designed to provide continuous sterilization in any indoor environment to enhance hygiene and provide a safer living environment. This is an important factor because pathogens or indoor pollutants are always there 24/7. Current method of increasing air movement is important but not sufficient to address the complete indoor environmental quality problem. We need to adopt new technologies to complement the existing solution. McLean technology is scientifically proven by different universities. The University of Monash University in Malaysia campus have tested Serafusion technology against some of the common bacteria and mold. Nottingham University has also tested our technology against bacteria and different fungi. The University of Malaysia has also tested our technology, and one of the tests was against hand, foot, and mouth disease. Recently, last year in August 26, 2020, the Fujita Health University has officially made a statement that ozone gas in a concentration of 0.05 to 0.1 parts per billion is able to deactivate coronavirus and is harmless to human. Because of the pandemic, we have seen a lot more studies using ozone technology at low concentration to address this pandemic. This is a part of the study done by Fujita to show that at 0.1 and 0.05 ppm, the coronavirus has been deactivated as much as 95.4 or 94%. Another study from Tel Aviv University again mentioned ozone is proven to be highly effective in disinfecting coronavirus. And the CDC, Director of Center for Disease Control in the US, states ozone, again, is very effective at inactivating viruses, especially enveloped viruses like SARS-CoV-2. Within seconds, ozone solubilizes the lipid membranes of the virus. So you will notice that there are many more studies coming out lately to endorse the use of ozone at a controlled level to deal with pandemic like this. So what is important here is that we need to look at a total solution approach, as I mentioned. Instead of just relying on air movement or specific technology, we need to take a total solution approach. McLean air surface sterilizer is an important and necessary component to the total solution, and it is always on 24/7, providing continuous protection and added safety. So McLean technology will help to complement the existing solution that are in place and the gap that we can fill where HVACs or the non-HVAC system are not able to do. So in summary, we need to look at a more comprehensive approach to tackle the IAQ in the new norm. We need to embrace new technology to complement existing solution. The importance of sterilizing air and surfaces 24/7. The importance of added safety to reduce the risk in the new norm. There is no perfect technology to effectively address this pandemic, as we have also heard from Engineer Ng. We need to look at a more comprehensive solution. Indoor pollution is very complicated, but often the time we are trying to simplify the solution to the problem. It won't work. We need to face the facts and educate organizations, business owners, and general public so that they have the right solution and knowledge to invest and implement the proper solution. So with that, I conclude my talk this afternoon. I pass down the time back to Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel, so much. Great. Thanks for your valuable experience sharing. All your products have proven very good. Okay, right now we invite the third and the final panelist is the senior manager from Cut In Mr. Damien King. He has experience in managing and leading the projectile teams at Kat Yin, Sdn Bhd for over 10 years. Under his wing, he and his team has successfully delivered over 2,000 high-volume low-speed fans locally and internationally. He is undoubtedly considered one of the premier specialists within the country in regard to high-volume low-speed fans. He is also passionate toward his field of work and has worked alongside numerous national specialists as the spokesperson for the benefit of utilizing high-volume low-speed fans in their projects. Let's welcome Mr. Damien on screen with me. Mr. Damien?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Mr.
Vincent.
Yeah.
Thank you
Right
for
now,
the brief introduction.
Yeah, I pass the floor to you. You share with your
Okay.
high-volume low-speed fan now. Welcome.
All right. Okay, can you all see my screen? Okay. First of all, Mr. Ng and Daniel has certainly given us a lot of insight into the current need to improve IAQ. Nothing is as critical as the air we breathe, but managing IAQ can be very challenging. What I want to bring to you today is to share with you on the importance of elevated air movement in workspaces, in particularly in a warehouse environment. Now, as you can see here, this is a typical warehouse design language. Just by looking at the picture, you would have already know that there are a lot of dead spots where air is extremely stagnated. For example, the picking area here, where most of the workers are gathered to go about their duties. So now, there are over, from my last count, there are easily more than 150,000 factories and warehouses alike in the entire country. Right? Therefore, I feel that it is compelling enough for us to understand a little bit more on how to improve ventilation in such kind of setting. And I personally have been to enough warehouses in the country as well as overseas to say that it is commonly warm, stagnated, and extremely uncomfortable. And in most times, in some of the cases, I have recorded almost close to zero air movement, even with the loading dock doors open, simply because these buildings are not designed to allow cross-flow. Now, this can be intentional or unintentional, as some operations or some businesses require a total lockdown, so to speak, to prevent dust and also as security, etc. I have also come across in some cases where some of our clients actually took the route to explore conventional exhaust systems, and it is very astronomically expensive to implement, to the tune of millions. I'm sure that many in the trade would agree with me on this. Now, stagnated air, as we know, is a serious problem, more so than ever during this pandemic. Now, if you look at this pie chart here, if you see the majority of cases that are mostly coming from factories. As you can see here, it contributed at about close to 50%. Now, no doubt that most of these transmission within these factories are coming from dormitories, as we all know. But I'm very sure we can find a way to minimize that risk in the workspace itself, or rather to contain. Now, research has shown that microdroplets can stay afloat for a very long time. And science tells us that temperature and humidity has a big influence on airborne microorganisms' ability to survive and stay infectious. And to compound these effects, based on my observation over the course of my work SOPs like physical distancing is almost virtually impossible, especially in very labor-intensive setting where workers need to gather close together. Now, let me share with you an experiment done by the Japanese Association of Infectious Disease of how microdroplets can remain suspended in the air for a long period of time.
A person coughs once and spreads about 100,000 droplets. Large droplets are shown in blue and green. Most of these fall to the ground within 1 minute. But the microdroplets, shown in red, continue to drift. This simulation uses only microdroplets. 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, the microdroplets are still floating in place.
Now, as you can see here, this is a typical fashion in where most of the workers will normally gather around based on my work experience. So you can only imagine what kind of risk that they are going through every day when they are at work. And the next video that I'm about to show you is to show you what is a simple solution to this problem.
When you open a window, microdroplets are quickly swept away. They're very small and light, so any airflow will get rid of them.
So as you can see here, the take-home message is a little bit of airflow is already sufficient enough to remove all these microdroplets that are actually floating in the air. So in conclusion, HVLS fans can mobilize and destratify large volumes of air in any facility. Elevated airspeed is proven to decrease the risk of airborne transmission of microdroplets that can spread viruses. And it also makes it more difficult for contaminated microdroplets to find a path to uninfected people. All right. This further emphasizes the points made by Engineer Ng as well as Mr. Daniel. And not only that, it also creates a perceived cooling effect through this evaporation of heat through sweat from our body. And it is as effective as up to 5 degrees centigrade, leaving a positive impact on productivity and employee morale. And what's more, you get lesser complaints too. And it is highly cost effective to implement. You're talking about a capex investment of approximately only a ringgit 50 cent per square foot. Well, that's the end of my presentation for today. Back to you, Vincent.
Okay, thank you, Damien. Thank you so much for the insightful sharing. Okay, thank you, Damien, again. So right now, yeah, thank you so much. To our friends in the audience, feel free to ask any question in the comment section. And remember to mention who the question is for. Now we have heard from all three parties. We shall move on to the discussion forum and tackle some questions from the audience. Let me invite Engineer Ng and Daniel to rejoin us on screen. Hi, Engineer Ng and Daniel.
Hello,
Welcome
hello.
on the floor with me. Right now, we move on to the discussion forum. So I saw have a few questions from gentlemen. Yeah, welcome to share the question to the gentleman. The first one is from Muhammad Shiron. This one question is called, could the ozone be used to treat the COVID-19 patient? Can I invite Mr. Daniel to answer this question from the audience?
Sure.
Daniel?
Thanks, Stephen, Vincent. Well, there are studies done in different countries. I think Italy or somewhere also in South America, where ozone is used in treating patients. Right now, there are even clinical trials going on using ozone for such treatment. Of course, McLean, we are not in the space, but to answer this question, yes, ozone has been considered and being used in treating patients. So that's all I can comment at this moment. Yeah.
Okay. Let us continue the question from Muhammad Siron. Maybe Mr. Daniel, you continue to answer his question. By having air movement inside the built environment, more virus will disseminate easily around the occupants. Mr. Daniel, can you continue sharing your knowledge on this question?
Sure. Yeah, definitely there is a possibility when you have more air movement in the built-in environment, more viruses will be disseminated. Definitely. That is why we need to make sure that we treat the airborne viruses. And to do that, this is where we use active oxygen to kill those or deactivate the viruses airborne as well on surfaces. So if you just focus on just air movement, there are studies actually states that you may even spread the viruses more in the actual environment. So that's why I keep talking about looking at the perspective of total solution to be more effective in dealing with these viruses.
Okay, thank you
I
so
hope
much.
I answered that.
Oh, very good, very good. Thank you so much. Can I, next question is from Aaron Corwitt. How does always on sterilization work against coronavirus? Can I invite Engineer Ng? Can you share your knowledge on this question?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Okay, this question from the Aaron Corwitt. The question is, how does always on sterilization work against coronavirus?
I don't understand. Ovid. What do you mean by Ovid?
No. How does always on sterilization work against coronavirus?
Okay, you say how does those Ovid? I don't catch it. How does those sterilization? Is it?
Yes. Yeah. Sterilization work against the coronavirus.
Oh, okay. I try to get the question. I have mentioned in my slide there's some systems that can either sterilize or disinfect the viruses. So I mentioned some of the systems are say UVGI, ultraviolet germicidal irradiation. They emitted a certain UVC light of 254 nanometers. They can either kill or sterilize the viruses. Okay, I hope you get what I mean. For example, when you do UVGI, it's just like you jump over a ring of fire. A ring of fire can be very hot. If you just jump over a ring of fire, which is a short one, you have no problem. Maybe you jump over a ring of fire, they say 10 meters in length. You run across that, you can get roasted and burned. All right. So when you design UVGI, you also need to look at the contact time. Hope I answered the question.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. So right now we move on. The next question is from the audience. Is from Song Ong. The question is UV light can help to install at Little Duck mixing box. Can I invite Mr. Daniel to answer this question?
UV light can help to install a return box. Well, definitely you can consider doing that. Again, as I mentioned, depends on the objective of placing a UV light in the return box. Reason why I ask is that, for example, we are being approached in one of our customers, without naming the customers, is that they are having a major breakout on COVID-19 in a large space. And one of the problem is, of course, they found out is through the centralized system, where COVID-19 is spread through the ducting system. So they are looking at how to treat it. And when you talk about treating the HVACs, again, it's only one part of the solution, okay? But where is the source of the virus coming from? It's from the indoor environment. So we suggest to the customers, other than just treating the ducting system, whether it's using UV or whether it's using ESP, we need to address the indoor environment. And that's where we talk about using solution like McLean to sterilize the indoor space on a continuous basis, in addition to treating the ducting system. So only then you will find a more effective solution to address the problem. So I try to give a bigger picture of or answer to the question that is mentioned specifically. Again, because I keep emphasizing the importance of the holistic solution approach, not a individual segment kind of solution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Okay, I have one question. Maybe I invite Mr. Damien to share with me. The question is how difficult it is maintain the high volume low speed fan since it is installed so high.
Well, you don't need to worry about that part because our fans are mostly maintenance free. You don't need to maintain it, except to, of course, clean it. Otherwise, you don't really have to go up there to do a routine maintenance every now and then.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. How is compared with the conventional stand fan? The high volume low speed fan was different, and compared to the local authority like Bomba Malaysia for certification. Can continue?
Okay, my answer to your first question is it's not comparable to stand fan, because stand fan is more like spot cooling, whereas HVLS fan is more like a 3D cooling where it actually covers a very wide area, up to 4 times its own diameter. And as to second question, where is there any conformity at this moment? Now this product is not listed as a product that needs a conformity under these authorities that you have just mentioned.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, now I go back to the audience. Have a question from Liu Wei Ching. This I invite Mr. Daniel to sharing. Can you share some of the implementations McLean have done for the large area?
Okay,
Mr. Daniel.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. In Malaysia, for example, some of our major customers are, for example, Resort World Genting, where we install our system in casinos. As you know, casinos, they have a huge space. We have done as large as about 30,000 square meter area. And a lot of the properties we have also implemented in restaurants, in their hotel rooms, corridors, public toilets, and places like Jaya Grocer. I'm sure you're all familiar. Last year, we have implemented all their nationwide outlets, 37 of the outlets, implementing in the entire supermarket. That's a very large implementation. And EcoWorld, I'm sure all of us know, all their major sales gallery are fitted with McLean solution. And KLIA, phase 2 of their refurbishment in the toilets, they have actually started using McLean in the toilets. And in Singapore, we are very active in Changi Airport. Changi is very aggressive in tackling COVID-19, and we are proud to say that we have been selected as part of their solution in the public toilets, because they found that a lot of the cases are also coming from the toilet area. So we are doing it continuously. We have done the Terminal 1, Terminal 3, we have done Terminal 4. We have also implemented in the Jewel. I'm sure you know Jewel is a hype for Singapore. We have done a couple of places in the Jewel. We have done implementation in some of the government departments, like the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources. Currently, in fact, we have also just installed in Germany a 400-seat capacity cinema tackling COVID-19 concern. And we will be implementing another 3 to 4 more cinemas in Germany. So these are just some examples of large implementation that we have done so far. But there are a lot more, but I think this will give you an idea how we have done and implemented McLean in these places. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, so much. So I have an audience question from Mr. Yap Chung Han. Right now, I invite Engineer Ng to share the answer or sharing your thought for this. He invite currently in the market that have a lot of air purified, each with different design, but it's really help to tackle the COVID-19 virus. Mr. Engineer Ng?
Yes. If you talk specifically just the COVID-19 virus, the SARS-CoV-2, I don't think there's anyone that have this certification to show that, because if I'm not mistaken, EU needs a certification that it can kill 99.9% of the virus, then they give you the certification. I do know of one supplier, they can do up to 96%. They can kill up to 96% of the virus, not 99.9. But there are others, if you look carefully at what they say, okay, they did not say that they can kill the virus. They only say they can desanitize or deactivate the viruses. So they are not wrong in the wording, okay. Whether they are really, I am sure that it is something that can be it can be effective for them, but you have to be aware that when you use this standalone air cleaners, they may be just at one corner. So you must have a fair air distribution. You're going to be aware of that. All right. Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. One audience have one question is for all our panelists. Whether either of you can answer. The question is, what is your view on climate change in relation to environmental sustainable, and whether climate change will propose any potential challenge to the current solution of indoor air quality in commercial building and high-rise indoor public spaces? Okay, invite any one of you to answer this question from the audience. Maybe Mr. Daniel or Engineer Ng.
Okay, let me answer this statement first. Quite a lot of recommendations mention about increase of ventilation for air conditioning for commercial building, hospitals, and using HEPA filters. All this will entails higher use of energy, electrical energy. Okay, when you talk about your local electric energy, it indirectly go back where the chillers got to work harder. Indirectly, you have to so-called burn more fuels, and to a certain extent, using more energy, you may consume more energy. Okay, when you talk about climate change normally talk about indirectly will be global warming, whereby the type of refrigerant you use in the chillers when there are leakages. And there are also many other factors. So the only way I can think when you ask this question about climate change is the higher usage of energy, how will it affect the climate? That from that aspect, you will look from that aspect.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good. Thank you, Engineer Ng, so much. Once audience, you send Sino, they have asking. The question is, Ministry of Health Malaysia has converted Malaysia Argo Exposition Park Serdang exhibition space and a hall into the temporary and emergency quarantine facility. Although this facility will have a mechanical ventilation that is adequate for normal exhibition or conference to use, it's not clear if sufficient ventilation will be available for patient management and infection control purpose when they are adapted for such purpose as during the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a positive possibility of infected. Maybe I invite Mr. Damien sharing this ventilation system applied to the hospital, the Argo Serdang Exposition Hall.
I think IR Ng should be more qualified to answer this question.
Okay, great. Engineer Ng, can I invite you to answer this question?
I think it is this temporary hospital. It depends how they do on the ventilation. I'm not in a position to comment on that unless I go and see how they look into the ventilation and even what are the system used to disinfect the virus. All right, I haven't been to such hospital. They should use something like some of the system that are proposed like UVGI. Electronic air cleaners or some McClean products, and they also should look into the ventilation use. How much of the ventilation? Like I saw somebody ask about how much of the air change that is being used. All right, so I haven't been to any of those. I'm sure there's some expert in that. All right, but right now, after this, the next few days, I'm asked to write to be in the working group for the guidelines for this COVID-19 for residential and non-residential recommendation, as well as on IEQ. That much I can say. All right.
Maybe I can just add a couple of comments, Vincent.
Okay,
I
no
think
problem.
these places that have been converted for treating patients with COVID-19 or isolation, this is actually a very good example of having the right solution in this place, because you're talking about a large number of people. You know, it's not just 5; it's like hundreds of people. It could be even thousands of people. So again, air movement is important. Treatment of HVAC systems to make sure that the air distribution coming out from the diffusers are all treated. But again, you know, places where the patients are sleeping, right? You know, in Malaysia, I think. Compared to other countries, from the newspaper or from the TV, you find it can be quite messy there. So definitely, it's important to sterilize the indoor space on a continuous basis. So it should. I hope they have put more than just one solution. In fact, I think they need multiple solutions to address places like that because it's a very high-risk place. And our experience with, for example, casino is a crowded area, right? So it's an area that you want to minimize infection across the people there. So we spend a lot of time working with facility engineers, HVAC engineers, with us to look at the total air distribution flow and the disinfection of the indoor space concurrently, not in isolation. So actually, these places, hopefully, Engineer Ng, you know, as he start to write these kind of policies, is to consider, you know, the solutions that we all talk about today, a more comprehensive solution to address such issues. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I just saw Engineer Ng sharing the air change from the audience to asking. Can I repeat the question? Invite Damien to answer. This is Shelly Chong. Now I invite Damien. The question is, what is the recommendation air change in office, house, and factory respectively? the air change normally for the air, the fan ventilation?
Normally, I think we can take a cue from ASHRAE standard. Yeah. For rooms, probably in offices, you're talking about maybe 4 to 6 air change. Would you agree, Engineer Ng?
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on what application. Like you say, office will be 4 to 6. Car park ventilation could be about 6. And when there's a fire mode, they go to 12 air change. Hospitals can go up to 20 air change or 25 air change. All right. So it depends on various application. While you are having air change, you also look at other parameters. So you need, say, a carbon dioxide sensor to sense in the office whether it is safe. When it is safe, then you may have to reduce the amount of ventilation, because the more air change to use means the more outdoor air you bring in, the more energy you got to use, the more money you got to spend. So you got to balance that. So you got to look at the system entirely. You just can't look at one parameters. All right, but it's a very good question. What sort of air change? It's range from 4 air change to even 30 air change for operating theater. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Now it's of time. I invite every one panelist answer one question. Right now I invite Mr. Damien answer one question is can your high volume low speed fan be used to draw air upward toward the roof? Mr. Damien?
Yes, it can be done. We have done some cases where we, instead of blowing the air down, we actually reverse the fan to actually move it up. But that said, it has got to work. It has got to work in tandem with some other parameter, like of course having a jack roof, so that the air can escape. Because there is no point if the air cannot escape and then it comes back down again. So the key here is actually we are looking at to reduce, to discharge heat trap in the upper level of a particular space. Yes, it can be done, and we have done that before.
Oh, very good. Thank you so much. Next, I invite Mr. Daniel for the question. Why is the air movement insufficient to address the COVID-19 effectively? Mr. Daniel, can you share?
Why is air movement insufficient to address COVID-19 effectively? Is that a question?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes,
okay.
Correct.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, and in my presentation, it is clearly stated by ASHRAE document itself that air movement cannot control all airflows and completely prevent dissemination of infectious aerosol or disease transmission by droplets and aerosols. So that's a very important factor. And not only that, in actual environment, the air movement is more complicated, and system in place may not necessarily be able to move the entire air from every corner of the room, right? And especially if it's an old system and it's not even well maintained, then it will be a lot more difficult. And again, as I mentioned, air movement is only one parameter. You're only moving the air. And what about places that you can't move the air? What about surfaces that are contaminated? Are we not interested to address those areas?
Wash your hand frequently.
Yeah, other than washing your hand frequently, right? So,
yeah, correct.
So that's why it is so important. And McLean believes it very strongly. And that's why we have been doing this for the last 15 years. We must treat the indoor environment completely, right, on a 24/7, because bacteria, viruses, they are everywhere. You know, it's impossible to control the movement of bacteria and viruses. So other than moving the air, and example one of the audience has mentioned, and study has also mentioned, air movement doesn't mean that you will reduce the spread of viruses. In fact, you can also increase the spread of viruses depending on how the air is being moved, what kind of airflow distribution you're facing. So that is why I keep saying we need to sterilize the indoor environment in addition to air movement. So, because if you just move the air, you're not necessarily deactivating the viruses, or the bacteria. So you need something more than just what is present today. And as I mentioned earlier, this is not Malaysia problem. Globally, everybody is facing the same problem. Why? Because there's so much focus about increasing HVAC system, increasing air movement, but there is no satisfactory answer to solving the problem yet. It's because we are so skewed to air movement or HVAC system and so on and so on. We need to look seriously in the indoor space where the people are. And by doing so, then we are more effective in tackling on a holistic approach. So this is what I want to mention. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. Last question, can I invite Engineer Ng to sharing? You mentioned a several system for satellisation. Which one the best? Or any cost saving? Mr. Engineer Ng?
Honestly, there's no one system that fits all. It depends on the application, whether it's a residential, a hospital, airport, a commercial building. You may use a combination of system like you use a HEPA filter or a higher MERV filter, plus UVGI, plus PCO, and even probably the low density, the ozone system ionizer. So you may have to use a combination of system depending on the application, the density of the people, and the usage of the building. All right, so I can't give you a answer, a straightforward answer.
Yeah, thank you so much. Overall, now is almost complete all the audience answer and question already. So we move on, finish podium discussion. Now all right, ladies and gentlemen, awareness level on the importance of indoor air quality has increased with the pandemic. The challenge for the industry is to find ways to capitalize on this momentum and to build confidence that IAQ is a gateway to healthier and safer living. Before we end this webinar section, can we have our panelists give us the number one key takeaway for our audience in line with today's topic? Can I start from the Engineer Ng? Engineer Ng.
Okay, I have five things to say. Number one, wash your hand frequently.
Yes.
Wear a mask. And the 3C, avoid crowded spaces, avoid close contact setting, avoid confined space. Okay, these are things.
Oh, very good. Next, Mr. Daniel, your last.
Okay. I have two key
word.
points. One is I mentioned again, and I will say again, the importance of taking a holistic approach to tackle any indoor environment problems. And of course, here we're talking about the virus COVID-19. Secondly, the industry needs to embrace new innovation and technologies to complement existing solutions. The new normal has made it necessary. It is not so simple and straightforward solution. So these are the two things that we need to seriously consider going forward to be effective in how we tackle the COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much, insightful sharing. Okay, last is Mr. Damien. Your
Okay.
One key.
My take-home message for all is this: no matter what technologies or methods that can be used or available, my message for all is for all the stakeholders involved to step up their commitment to improve IAQ instead of adopting a waiting for something to happen kind of approach. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much of the panelists. Okay, with that, I would like to take this opportunity to say big thank you to our panelists today, Engineer Ng, Daniel, and Damien, for sharing your thought and knowledge
Thank you so
in
much.
this Power Talk. Thank you of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, as a last note to our audience, congratulations on successfully staying until the end of today's Marwex Power Talk. And we at Marwex are excited to welcome all suppliers, manufacturers to be on board on this power business event to rebuild our business together. So when you would like to discover how to be part of this business event or in this Power Talk series, our team has posted a link in the comment box, and do click on the link to schedule an appointment with our marketing team for the further discussion. And finally, do stay tuned for our next Power Talk section. Stay safe. Take care of you. Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All the
Thank you.
best, everyone.
All the best,
Take
everyone.
care. Stay home. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.